So, here's the deal. T-Kettle, we have a list.
We have a list.
Top 5 comedies.
I want to talk a little bit more about that list because comedies is very vague and comedy isn't everything.
Well, I want to talk about that list too because I didn't really do it, so I'm gonna just make this up as I go along.
Oh, dude, you still didn't do it?
I still didn't.
So sorry.
I've totally forgot about a list until literally we started this podcast. But don't worry, I have a list of comedies here, and I'll do it. But this list is susceptible to change.
Okay.
Keep that in mind.
For me, I wanted to talk about movies that are mainly comedy. That are because there's it's in there in almost everything. Comedy exists.
Yeah.
And movies that I haven't really talked about before. So like movies like When Harry Met Sally. We've talked about that movie. I never knows that I like it. So I want to talk. There's so many that like I haven't talked about that I really love, and I want to put it out there. And so that's where my head was.
Okay.
Throughout this list.
Well. Do you just want to do some honorable mentions here?
Yeah, we can do that. I have 1, 2, 3.
All right, go ahead.
I have 17.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I was really digging this list. I was having fun.
All right. Sorry I didn't reciprocate.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
We'll
have fun with it.
You want to start? All right, you can start.
Sure. Well, let's just throw this out here because I've already this one I did talk about, but there's no way it wouldn't have been on my list, and that's Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
Because that movie, I just love that movie.
Yeah,
it actually probably should have been my top 5, but that's fine because I liked what I picked anyway.
Okay.
And then I'll also say, this is kind of like no one really notices this movie, and nobody really appreciates this movie because it's actually really funny, and there's like a huge like twist in it that's so funny to me, and that's Burn After Reading.
With Coen Brothers
major
film?
Misunderstandings turn deadly in this Coen Brothers sleeper hit, dude. It's such a sleeper. Yeah, more people need to see this movie.
Okay. Groundhog Day with Bill Murray.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I've never seen that movie.
Never seen that movie? It's a great movie. And then I'll come up with a second one. I don't want to say that. I don't like dissing directors, but let's just say this is one of David Zucker's best films, and that's Airplane.
Okay, yeah.
It's probably because that whole farcical parody genre is like dead.
It is dead.
But
it was funny when it first came out.
When it first came out, it's funny.
Yeah, that movie's pretty good.
Airplane's
I do like
great.
that movie.
Yes.
Cornetto trilogy, but I love them all, but actually my favorite is everyone's least favorite, and the one that we haven't talked about yet, The World's End. Right? Just can't simply let a comedy just be a comedy, but remove the sci-fi element, and I still love this film. Like, I liked it from the start, before I even knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. Sorry, were you done, or?
Yeah, that's good for that.
Okay, yeah, I also have the Cornetto trilogy, but I'm also going to pull out another David Zucker film, and that's Naked Gun.
I've never seen that one either.
It's funny.
It's funny?
It's funny.
Cool.
Naked Gun 1.5.
1.5. That's right. I need to watch it.
Yes.
I got Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I have Ferris Bueller's Day Off as well.
Bueller has some iconic dialogue and a few funny scenes, but the sentiment of living it up displayed in the film is really what puts a smile on my face. Also, John Hughes makes some of the best characters not fit for real life.
All right. I'm gonna pull out one that you might be surprised by here. Mean Girls. I really like that movie. I think it's more of a. It's funny how so many people look at that as like a chick flick, or like a lot of girls especially, no disrespect or anything, but they look at that as almost like
a weakness.
Well, no, they look at that as like, oh, this is like the all-time girl movie, like this is the all-time chick flick, I guess you could say, but the movie's an anti-chick flick. The movie's a satire, and like it's hilarious how like sometimes like these, I don't want to say with these millennials, but like sometimes these people, they don't realize that. They actually think like, no, this movie's a complete satire of that high school clueless kind of movie, you know?
Yeah. So. I don't believe in chick flicks. Anybody can like a movie.
Oh yeah, same. Same. I love Mean Girls, you know?
I haven't seen it since I was a kid. But I remember enjoying it.
Yeah, it's a satire on chick flicks.
Okay.
You know, and like you said, I don't even believe in guilty pleasures. I
don't believe in guilty pleasures.
Yeah, it's like you like what you like, and why be guilty about it? You know?
Yeah, unless you have a reason for it. If you can't come up with a reason why you like it, like why I play stupid phone these stupid phone games that I like that's a guilty pleasure for me.
Right.
I actually don't know why I like it. I shouldn't like it.
All right.
This is a good one. God Bless America. Joel Murray finds out he is sick, and with his last remaining days, he chooses to kill people that deserve to die, like this parasite child on My Sweet 16 show. During this black comedy, he kills following his moral compass, which sometimes ends up murdering people that take up 2 parking spots. God Bless America is for entertainment purposes, but its convictions are relatable and convincing. This movie is actually super funny, but it's super dark at the same time.
All right. Okay, my next one is The Hangover.
Okay.
Yep, and you know what? I'll just throw in another one, 40-Year-Old Virgin. I think that's also really funny.
Okay.
Yep.
I can dig it.
Kind of like they do raunchy humor right, which is very hard because I cannot stand raunchy humor sometimes.
Yeah,
like Step Brothers, garbage. Hate it. There's no substance to that. 40-Year-Old Virgin and Hangover, there's substance to those films, and they're funny.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, then I'm going to hit you with 2 real quick.
Do it.
Usually I'd say fuck this guy, but one of the only good things Woody Allen has made was Sleeper. It's a glorified grocery store manager. He awakes from a cryosleep to a dystopian world oppressed by the government. There's literally every type of humor you can think of in this movie. Slapstick, mild screwball, fish out of water, political comedy. Almost everything works, but the slapsticks slaps in this movie.
Slapstick slaps.
And then I also got MASH. Before the show, MASH made light of the horrors of Vietnam to let the darkness out. While doing so, MASH was sort of the darkest black comedy of its time with some pretty shocking bits. I mean, come on, Suicide is Painless in 1970?
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, damn.
That's a funny movie, and it's very segmented, too.
Yeah. Okay. That's very interesting. My next one is a little overrated, I think. It got to the... It was actually kind of not well liked when it first came out, but then it grew to have a cult following, but the cult following has now made it overrated, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
It's Dumb and Dumber. Like...
Okay.
It's funny, but it's overplayed.
It is,
you know, and I was gonna be like, I didn't even want to put it as an honorable mention, but I'm like, all right, I'll do it.
It's not bad though.
No, it's not bad. No, it's not. It's not. It's just like
people can ruin things.
It took on such a life of its own after its release. Like it's crazy. Yeah. You know. So.
Next up, I got The Producers. I don't usually like movies that build up to one epic gag, but The Producers for me is an exception. It's pretty obvious to see where it's going, but it still works. I don't even care.
All right. Well, speaking of Mel Brooks, Young Frankenstein is an honorable mention for me.
Okay. Great movie.
Yes.
Next up, I got Clerks. So many great scenes in this movie. Virtually no resources involved. Just one place, and all your best jokes are needed to put your best foot forward. It's funny. I actually don't even know what the best scene is, but it's probably the one where the guy dies with heart on.
Yep. What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, so good.
It's so good.
I actually don't know if I have that on here, but if I don't, it's not. I'm adding that.
All right, yeah. No, it's great. It's a great movie.
Oh shit! I'm trying to take a sip, and I'm just okay. Next up, I got Safety Last. Harold Lloyd's stunt is all people pretty much remember this movie for, as they created the illusion of climbing a 7-story building. I'm here to confirm, though, the rest of the movie is quite funny and witty as well. And that's saying something because I'm actually seen a bunch of Lloyd's work, and I'm not that big of a fan of his. But,
all right.
He's easily the worst of the big 3.
Okay. Well, I think that's pretty much it for me.
All right. Well, I got some more to rattle off.
All right, do it.
Okay. Some like it hot. Some say this is the greatest comedy ever made. I don't necessarily agree, but it does have the best last line of any movie. Probably. Oh, shit. Okay. Now that I think about it, Casablanca might.
Yeah.
It's tough, dude.
Yeah.
Scott Pilgrim. For me, not a more quotable film to me. It's just back in 2011, my brother and I would have conversations at dinner entirely made up of Scott Pilgrim lines, and we knew every single one. This is a film not for everyone, especially if you don't vibe to video games, anime, and general nerd culture, but if you can sit through it, you get a story told in a comic-like fashion. Ramona Flower hair color changes. I'm in Lesbians with you. Bread makes you fat, and your BF's about to get effed in the B. What more could you possibly want? Grand Budapest Hotel. It's the most impressive set pieces, art direction, and the funniest deadpan from Anderson. Grand Budapest is a colorful work of art. It constantly keeps you on its toes with its progressive nature and off-kilter finale.
Mm-hmm.
Breakfast Club. I was one of the lucky ones to watch it while I was in high school, unlike friends who watched it because they hated it afterwards. Its look at the cliques are too accurate, and along the way, the bonding and growth of understanding brings us a little closer. It's why am I getting so fucking philosophical on top comedies? But the movie is funny though, for all real. Dazed and Confused is pretty funny. The kid is the first emotional scene to ever exist on film. Charlie Chaplin's heartfelt story of the kid raising a child. That's what it is. It's halfway through it, it sort of abandons that for a really strange dream sequence, which is where most of the humor derives from. But if you're like me, you cling to the feels kind of, and that's why it made it onto this list. And lastly, we got Doctor Strangelove.
All right.
For me personally, this film is less funny in a traditional sense and more funny in the sense that Kubrick was tastefully antagonizing and poking fun at the idea that all of us are going to go up in flames because of incompetent world leaders.
Yes.
It was incredibly bold, and unlike The Interview, was intelligent in its execution.
Right.
Wow.
All right. Actually, I got a couple more honorable mentions that I'm just looking at here. My Cousin Vinny. The Pink Panther. I like almost all of them, really. You know, the ones with Peter Sellers. Big is really great. I really like School of Rock, I'm going to be real with you. And I really like Liar Liar.
Nice.
I think it's the one Jim Carrey's
Nothing could stop the clock.
Oh, it's so great. I love when he spits out the water. Oh, God! It's not my bad.
Yeah, he's.
I'm kicking my ass. Do you mind?
He gets really into it.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna put The Mask in there too. I love The Mask. I love The Mask, dude.
Oh man,
The Mask is a classic. Dude,
I love it.
And dude, Tropic Thunder too. Bruce Almighty. Okay.
I never got Tropic Thunder.
You never got, dude.
I just never understood
that
what
film.
Was...
Dude, as a filmmaker, that film is hilarious.
Is Tom Cruise the best character in that movie?
Yes. 100%. You know, when I first saw that film, I saw that film in theaters with my dad. I didn't even know that was Tom Cruise until the very end credits.
Really?
I swear. I couldn't believe it. It's crazy.
I'll have to give it another watch. Oh boy.
Yep.
So, you ready for this top 5?
Well, yeah, I'm ready for this top 5 that I'm making up as I go along.
Okay.
So, I know this is super premature. And, again, after thinking about it, it probably won't be on my top 5, and it will be an honorable mention instead, but it's fresh in my mind, and I'm just going to say it. I think Game Night is my number 5. Yeah, I'm saying it.
Okay.
I really like it. I've said so much about Game Night, so I don't really want to elaborate too much, but I really like... I think it's because, too, I've been so bogged down by crappy comedies, especially crappy raunch comedies, that to actually have a comedy be released in 2018 when it came out that had great cinematography, great humor, great wit, great writing. It actually had a plot, and it wasn't just two children just running around crashing boats and playing drums. You know, it was a really nice change of pace, and I was like, okay, finally we have a comedy with substance. You know what comedy is now?
What?
Comedy now is what horror was in the early 2000s.
Okay.
100%.
And horror just picked it up, so they kind of like changed places.
Yeah, exactly. So.
No, I feel you.
Yeah.
No, I can see that. I like that movie.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yes.
My number 5 is His Girl Friday. Cary Grant actually plays in a role that doesn't feel like he's playing himself. Even still, Rosalind Russell is the one who steals the show in the screwball comedy. His Girl Friday spends the first hour introducing the situations such as Russell's engagement, a falsely accused convict, Grant's attempt to win back Russell, all leading to one of the most chaotic and satisfying finales to a Golden Age film. It's messy, sassy, and trapped in a charade of hate. All the ingredients to a good screwball. Dude, it's so good.
Nice.
I watched it, I think, like a year ago.
Nice. I got a number 4 for you.
Okay.
1 second, I'm sorry. Alright, I got a number 4 for you. You ready? I fought in your general direction. It's just a flesh wound.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
My name is Tim. Monty Python and the Holy Grail, dude. This film is freaking great. It's so quotable. Terry Gilliam does, I think this was his first film. His first solo film. That he solo directed, Obviously he was part of the Monty Python group.
Yeah.
You know, and after this, he had like a long, crazy career. Dude, this film is just so quotable. It's so funny. One of the best things about it is like the cheapness of it, but they mention it and they talk about it. They break the fourth wall constantly. They break logic and break reality, but it just adds to the comedy all the time. It's clever. It's witty. I'm usually not a fan of like dry British humor, but this film pulls it off spectacularly. Because I think there's almost like, honestly to me, I could be wrong here, but there's almost like a more American sentimentality to it because like British humor is like crazy dry, and this actually has some really nice like humor, like nice wit humor, even slapstick visual gags. Really like it. You know? There's
a lot there. They have an appreciation for all types of humor.
Of course.
Which is why they're so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all you wanted to say about it?
Yeah.
My number 4 is the discreet charm of the bourgeoisie. In this Louis Buñuel film, there are only 2 rules. 1, the characters cannot share a meal together. 2, they cannot have sex. Buñuel uses these rules to create a surreal sandbox where anything can happen to make it so these characters starve to death on both accounts. The most famous scene is when they start to eat the meal and a curtain pulls back to reveal that they are a theater performance. Buñuel has always been pushing the boundaries with film and breaking down the barrier between film and reality, then refusing to acknowledge it. Basically, it's fucking crazy. It's like, it's so much, it's film. It's just like, you can't do it anywhere else.
Right.
So like, he'll write anything to get these characters to not, and they're like normal people too, which is the weirdest part. So like, just weird shit happens to them the whole time, and it's really just a pleasure to just see what you're really gonna end up seeing. Like you just never know.
Nice, dude.
And that's what comedy is, dude. It's just not, you have no fucking clue.
Mm-hmm. All right. So this is my number 3.
Yeah.
The General.
Okay.
With Buster Keaton. This film, again, I've said it before. We've talked about it before, so I won't dive too deep into it. But this film transcends silence. And it's still, like, funny 100 years later. Yeah. And let me tell you something. I've said this before on the podcast. Not a lot of comedies can say that. A lot of the comedies that have been released in the last 20 years will not be remembered in 100 years from their release date. You know, they just won't. This film does, because it has amazing visual stunts that add to the comedy. The performances are great. The stone face of Buster Keaton is always fascinating to watch. And it's crazy that he actually did most of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And again, I'm a huge fan of slapstick comedy because I feel like it's some of the only comedy that transcends time. You know?
Timeless.
It's timeless.
Yes.
You know, you can always laugh at slapstick. You can't always laugh at topical humor, political humor. Mm-hmm. In 100 years, no one's going to find a Trump joke funny. People might not even know who Trump is. If you were watching a film and they made a joke about James K. Polk, you wouldn't laugh because what do you know about James K. Polk? Nothing.
True.
You know?
You're right.
So, you know, slapstick is one of the only, and this is why I love the Pink Panther as well, is some of the only comedy that can actually transcend the boundaries of the medium, and I love it.
I feel you. I 100% feel you. My number 3. I actually really don't have that much written down for this movie, but just take my word for it. Okay. It's City Lights.
City Lights.
Charlie Chaplin's broke ass falls in love with a flower girl. He spends the entire film trying really convoluted plans to win her over, or one plan just continues to lead him into oblivion until you finally ask yourself, how did we get here? It's funny, but above all, it's adorable. And it's the closest thing you'll come to crying in a silent film as well.
Damn, dude.
It's got feels, dude. It's got mad feels.
Is that all you got to say about it?
That's really all I got to say about it. It is really funny. The boxing scene is probably the one that everybody remembers it for, and it's so good.
No, yeah, I remember that.
I think every Chaplin film has like one scene that's like, it's no one can think about anything else but that scene when you think about that film, and there's a good reason for it. It's because he's just a genius. For sure.
Okay. So this is what, my number 2? All right, so this is susceptible to change.
Of course.
Because I'm making this up as I go along. But I'm going to put Hot Fuzz, specifically.
Woo!
As my number 2. I think it's I do like The World's End, though. Okay, I really do like The World's End, and I don't think I've seen Shaun of the Dead all the way through. I remember watching it when I was younger, and there was a really gory part of it, and I'm like, ugh, don't want to watch that, because I was like too young to really like that stuff, you know, or appreciate it in film, I should rather say. Yeah, dude, Hot Fuzz is great. I love the witty banter. Again, Edgar Wright's visual flair adds something to it. If you notice about pretty much all of my top 5 films, it's not just the comedy that sells it. You know, everything serves the comedy. The visuals, the performances, the lighting, you know, everything.
Yeah.
Everything. The costumes, the makeup, everything has to serve the comedy. And once every aspect of the film serves the comedy is amazing. You can't just, which is what a lot of people do nowadays, they just plant a fucking camera on a tripod, shoot Kevin Hart or Tiffany Haddish, and they're like, just say funny stuff. Come on, Rebel Wilson, just say funny. And I don't mean to attack these comedians, because I think they can be really funny, but I think they're put into a position where literally these writers and directors, they just like, oh, just improv funny stuff. You know? And it's like, that's not the way it should be. And I think what Hot Fuzz shows is that, yeah, you can have some improv. There's probably some improv in there. But it's like, it's about more than that. You have to create a good atmosphere around the comedy in order to accentuate it and build it up to the next level, you know?
Yeah, plus it just helps that Edgar Wright's just a fantastic director, and he says most of his jokes just through action. Yes,
exactly. He has a lot of, like, visual flair. And he has a lot of visual gags, too. Yeah. Like, where words aren't even spoken. And that's the thing nowadays, too, where, again, like, when you just point a camera at a comedian, they're like, just say something funny, you know, I don't get a lot out of that, because it's just whatever. But when you have, like, funny visual gags, like in Scott Pilgrim or Hot Fuzz or World's End, it's amazing. It's funny. Like, the fence gag, that's funny.
Yes.
You know? It's in every film.
And you were just talking about how, like, timeless some of these... Like, I think people could laugh at some of the jokes. Like, especially the water joke from the World's End, where he's just... they're beer, water, tap water.
Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah, and there's even, like, deeper meaning behind... And there's actually, like, levels of heart in those films, too.
Oh, 100%.
You know, like, Edgar Wright, he knows what he's doing. And he's an amazing director, so...
Yeah.
Yes. It's my number 2.
Good choice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I actually also came up with the general, but I knew that we talked about the film a couple times, so I was like, you know what? I got Sherlock Jr.
Okay.
Because they're both, like, right up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the closest thing we had to surrealist cinema at the time as a projectionist who literally dreams of being a detective. Keaton's directing skills at the time is personally why I think he's the best of the 3.
Mm-hmm.
Go and watch the scene where he enters a dream sequence told with superimposing himself over the film. It looks like an out-of-body experience, but he's also able to create jokes through it. Then when he enters the film, every time a frame would change location, he would remain in the same place. For instance, a car would be approaching him.
Mm-hmm.
He would move out of the way, and when it cuts to the next frame, he would be inching towards a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are his jokes timeless, but they are truly brilliant and courageous acts for the sake of entertainment. As I said, go watch the scene, and if you like what you saw, watch the entire filmography. I've seen, like, probably like 10 of his films. I haven't seen a bad one.
Nice, dude.
He's great.
Nice.
You know what scene I'm talking about too?
I think
it's a classic scene.
For sure, dude. All right. Is that it?
Yeah, number 1.
Here's my number 1. You ready for this? I think you know it.
Oh boy.
Guess it.
Well, I know that you didn't do this because you didn't really focus on the list, but I should probably mention I divided it because I asked you to do that one time. To the funniest comedy and your favorite comedy.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't do that.
Yeah, I know you didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm being real.
I just wanted to preface that before I say mine. What's up? What do you got?
You know my number 1. Come on, just say it. Say it.
I know you're number 1?
Yeah, I think so.
I know. Oh, it's a mad world.
Yeah, it's a mad world. Okay, Spencer Tracy, Mickey Rooney, Sid Caesar, Milton Berry, Ethel Merman. Who else is in this? I know Don Knotts is in it. The Three Stooges are in it. There's a ton of, like, friggin' cameos in it. Paul Ford. All these great people and great comedians are in pretty much the only T-Kettle, the only epic comedy film. Like, this thing is an epic, dude.
I'm definitely familiar with it.
It is an epic. Like, Lawrence of Arabia is an epic.
It has a reputation.
This is an epic. Okay? This is insane. Okay, the film, for those of you who don't know, it's basically kind of like a film where It's an ensemble cast where there's basically a pursuit for like $350,000 in stolen cash. It's buried somewhere, and this colorful, crazy group of strangers has to basically go out and search for it, and then they come into obstacles and shit like that, and that's where the comedy ensues, and that's where the hijinks ensue. This film is crazy, dude, because it really is an epic. The set pieces of this film are insane. It's filled with explosions, crazy car chases, crazy comedy moments. The original cut of this film was like almost 200 minutes. Dude, that's crazy.
It's still like 3 hours, isn't it? Or something
yes,
like that?
It's still like 3 hours. There's been a lot of like different variations of this film. I have the Wikipedia article up right now just because I want to be a little more concise here. But yeah, United Artists basically cut this thing to shreds when they first saw it because the film was just too long. Apparently there are stories that there was a 5.5 hour cut of this film, and they're like, no way. So they cut it down to whatever. They got it down to like 2.5 hours or whatever, and then United Artists obviously cut that down. But in 2013, the Criterion Collection, your boys, they came in with a restoration expert and basically kind of they re-released the 197-minute version of the film. So yes, that is insane. So there's a lot of different versions with a lot of different runtimes. The one I saw was like the 3-hour version. I've only seen this film twice in my life, and I still...
It's a commitment, it sounds like.
It is a commitment, but it sticks with you, though, because it's hilarious. It's hilarious. There was a remake of it called Rat Race. Don't watch that.
Oh, that's what that is about?
It's like a loose remake, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Stanley Kramer did an absolutely fantastic job with this movie. Again, it's really the only epic comedy film. What other epic comedy film can you really think of?
I got nothing.
Exactly. This belongs up there with like Ben-Hur and like Lawrence of Arabia as like the craziest, longest epic films. Because we don't see a lot of epic films. I guess, well, maybe like Endgame was probably considered an epic. Because that's like 3 hours.
Back in the day...
But back in the day, epics were like blockbusters now. Epics were like huge.
I gotta look for the name of it. My phone's gonna piss me off in a second.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, anyway, the cast, freaking Milton Berle, Sid Caesar, Buddy Hackett, Ethel Merman, Mickey Rooney, Spencer Tracy, obviously, like I said, Terry Thomas, Jonathan Winters is in it. I mean, the cast is insane, dude. And for those of you who don't know, Stanley Kramer is responsible for some pretty great films like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and The Defiant Ones, so...
Great movie.
Yes. Which one?
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Oh, man.
Spencer Tracy was in that.
Damn it! It won't load the run time, but there was a movie that I had my eyes on, and this is just something that they just used to do, I guess, back in the day.
Yeah.
But it's a comedy... kind of like a sketch comedy type thing, and it's like 8 hours long.
Jeez.
I mean, obviously you got to watch it in episodes. You can't watch that thing in one sitting. Mm-hmm. I mean, people would do that kind of thing. I would probably do that thing just for the sake of like, bragging rights, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But that movie is probably as long as it gets from like a studio released film.
And by the way, just sorry to interrupt you, but just to add to how epic a Mad World is. So this film had an amazing animated opening credits sequence from Saul Bass, who from like the Psycho films.
Boy.
Yeah, from the Hitchcock films. He did Psycho, but the Hitchcock films like Vertigo and Anatomy of a Murder and like all these great films. Also, this film was shot in Ultra Panavision 70. Okay. Freaking, you know what else was shot in Ultra Panavision 70? You know how many comedies are shot in Ultra Panavision 70, Tyler? None. You know what is shot in Ultra Panavision 70? Greatest Story Ever Told, Battle of the Bulge, Lawrence of Arabia, Grand Prix, 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Big movies.
And
big movies.
It's a mad world.
That's cool. I'm really going to have to see it.
Yes, you do have to see it.
But in the meantime, can I tell you my two things that I picked?
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, my funniest comedy. Now, I have seen this movie like 20 times.
Okay.
I love this movie. And it's a damn shame that I haven't watched it with you. I've been waiting for this episode only because I want to spread the word of this movie. It's called Alan Partridge, Alpha Papa. Steve Coogan plays Alan Partridge, a radio show personality undergoing new management. When Alan catches wind that he's on the list to be sacked, he convinces them to give his friend the boot. Later on, his friend Pat holds up the radio station at gunpoint, Alan being the only one to escape. He works with the police as a mediator to calm Pat down, and basically just that's the premise of it. If you laugh once throughout this movie, you've missed like 4 jokes. I've seen this movie about 20 times and watch with like every person that hasn't seen it. That's why I'm surprised I haven't watched it with you. Yeah. On watch number 5, I was noticing jokes that I didn't pick up on through the first few watches. Usually when you have too many jokes, it gets claustrophobic, but the reason for that is because you have too many jokes and most of them don't land. But Alan Partridge fixes that problem with a movie that is relentlessly hilarious. This movie is fucking insane. There's one scene, and this isn't a big scene. This is just a normal, like, run-of-the-mill scene. Yeah. Where, like, Alan is the mediator at this point, and he goes back in. He's got his police, his bulletproof vest on. Yeah. And he's, like, looking for Pat, and Pat, like, sneaks up on him and, like, puts a gun up to him or whatever. And Alan's like, I don't want to die! Because Steve Coogan's so funny. Right. And he's like, it's me. What's going on? And he's like, ooh, you scared me so bad. I actually had a piece of cake for you, but I might as well just smash it now. He actually shit himself. Oh, yeah. And he, like, he took, like, his shit out of his pants and, like, smashed it in his... I didn't pick up on that until like the 5th time I saw it, or the 2nd to 3rd time I saw it.
Oh my god!
It's funny, and it just happens. It's so nonchalant.
You know what's gonna happen when we watch this film together? I'm gonna intentionally troll you and like hold back my laughter and just pretend not to love it.
Impossible. Impossible, dude.
I don't know, man. You don't know me. I can hold back laughter pretty well.
I can't wait. Well, I'm gonna be laughing. I'm gonna be getting in your face. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's such a funny movie. I can watch that movie. Like,
and that's your favorite comedy?
No, my favorite comedy. That's the funniest comedy I've ever
funniest
seen. My favorite comedy, it's Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh, okay.
Every sequence is pure genius, even the silly ones like the Knights Who Say Knee. Mm-hmm. The Monty Python crew were unparalleled in making highbrow sketch comedy in the comedy of manners fashion, which is like social class jokes. They were able to make every scene feel segregated and funny as a standalone scene, but also stitch them together flawlessly. The humor still holds up today. I recently watched it with a friend who hadn't seen it, and he actually started crying during the Bridge of Death scene.
Yeah, it seems great.
If you know the quest of the Holy Grail, then you know how it ends. And MP was able to keep that ending by driving full speed away from historical accuracy.
Yes. It's a great way to put it at the end. You know, and like, remember how I said its limitations in budget actually just added to the comedy? You know, they wanted horses for the film.
They wanted
horses.
They're just like, fuck it.
But they couldn't afford it, so they got coconuts and they just...
It adds to it, though. It really does add to it.
It does.
It's like something you'd see in like Black Dynamite or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's so great. Oh, Black Dynamite. I'll put that as an honorable mention.
There you go.
Honorable mention. You diabolical dick-shrinking motherfuckers. One of my favorite. I need a shirt with... Actually, no, never mind.
No, you don't need a shirt. You don't want a shirt with that.
I don't want a shirt that has that on it.